Question everything, but the truth should not be televised. And that's for sure. So with that, yeah, you heard Trump talking about reacting segregation, which when you look at segregation for what it really is, when you look at what Martin Luther King said about leading his people to a burning house, and that the I Have a Dream speech was the worst speech he ever did. You can look that up on YouTube and find that speech when he was talking about all that stuff for show on your own. But at the end of the day, when you look at integration and segregation, you got to look at it for what it really is. Economics. Economics is everything. You know what I mean? Because economics is the basis of financial gain and resources for your community and your people and your nation. That's just what it is. So anytime you look back when we were segregated, you can see how much we were striving. Yes, we had mad issues with colonizer supremacy based off of us thriving. Thus, all y'all know about Black Wall Street. And there was many Black Wall Streets. There was many prominent towns all throughout America that was shut down. And we lost thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of acres of land, farmland, you name it, businesses, you name it. And we never recovered from that because we never was able to get any justice for what was done to get rid of and destroy all those different prominent towns. That's just what it is. Just take it, for instance, look at the NBA. We dominate the NBA. But if we had kept the Negro leagues, guess what? All that money today would be in our communities, solely in our communities, without having the overseer owning all the different teams. That's just what it is. And you would cut out the middleman. Same thing with all the restaurants and all the businesses and stores and corner stores and gas stations and hospitals that we had. All that would represent us. Thus would represent us spending with us. Remember, integration wasn't about us coming together and holding hands. That ain't never happened. 2025, we know that for sure. It wasn't about that. It was about that black dollar, that Aboriginal Negro dollar being spent amongst ourselves 100-fold before it went out our communities, before we went and spent with anybody else. Thus, when you go to YouTube, you can look up how to sell to a Negro. And you'll see how they was marketing and teaching other nations to market to us in order to get us to buy their goods. And we see what's happening with China now when it comes to those type of goods and what China is saying. So even in that, we was duped. So when you look at segregation, I'm all for it. Because segregation gives us the ability to rebuild ourselves. Segregation gives us the ability to police ourselves. Look at what is happening with the police department. The federal census of ethnic arrest states that we don't commit the most crimes in America, but we the most mass incarcerated people on earth. Notice the words, on earth. You think that's by accident? Remember, we got a history with those that are mass incarcerating us. And it's not a pretty history. So us being mass incarcerated can't be by accident to be the most mass incarcerated people on earth by those that did all the things that they did to us and still are maintaining. So when you look at segregation, it would be a benefit to us to separate from everybody else. Think about the federal census of ethnic hate crimes in America. When you look up the actual census of it, we're number one on the list in America to be aided. Is it by ourselves or is it by everybody else? These are things that you got to ask yourself when you think about integrating with everybody when you're sitting on the top of the list to be aided in the country. Go figure. Why would you want to integrate with those that don't want to be around you or your children? These are major issues, major problems. Just look at the music industry, for instance. Look at the culture of ours all around the world being accepted by everybody, but us as a nation being shunned by everybody. How do that work? So that means everybody can take on how we talk, take on how we dress, take on how we carry ourselves, take on how we sing, rap, dance, so on, and at the same time integrated into their reality. At the same time, they're separating from us, separating their economics from us, separating their their livelies from us and their culture from us, at the same time absorbing everything we do. Is that fair to us? These are things we gotta acknowledge. All the way down through the Olympics. We're winning medals and gold medals and not respected at home. We're going into militaries but not respected at home. Same person that go to the military, come home, get pulled over for a traffic stop, it can go all the way wrong for them. This is just the reality of integrating. But see, segregation gives us the ability to be with ourselves, deal with ourselves, and work through to the better ourselves by our own means, own understanding, and own ideology of where we want to see ourselves going into the future. It's just what it is. You know, we got to own up to what's not working for us. Yes, we ain't talking about individual. We're talking about collectives. I always tell you, any individual person can be the most beautiful person in the world. But this is collective here. We're not individually moving along as races. We're moving as a collective, a nation, individual nations trying to unite as one nation that ain't never going to unite. Ain't going to never happen because there's too much injustice that's going on just against our people alone. We can't get representation to get any justice that we need from a system that tell us to vote, that when they feel like letting in millions of people that don't got to vote get way more economic growth than us, even though we're voting. We can't keep playing the same exact games and expecting a different result. That's not going to work. It's just what it is. And until we own up to our issues that are not being addressed, we're not going to be able to change it. And we can't look to those that got us sitting on the federal census of ethnic hate crimes at number one on the list to help us when we're sitting at number one on the list to be aided. That doesn't make any sense. Because you got to look around and say, well, who's the ones doing all this aiding to us to keep us in this position? They said hate crimes against us drunk 1,000-fold. 1,000-fold. But nobody's talking about it. Mainstream ain't talking about it. This is just the reality. Our civil rights leaders ain't talking about us being mass incarcerated more than anybody in the world. Even though the paperwork don't back it. We need to police our own. Why? Because then we can deal with our own correctly. You know, you get a felony, you can't get jobs, housing, you can't even get a society with it. That's a new way to discriminate on you by you having a background check. But then they can turn around and not background check millions of people coming into the country. But me and you, if we get caught jaywalking, that's a background check. It's just what it is. And we all too well know what that background check does. But these are economic games as well to keep us impoverished in ghetto slums and hoods. Not by accidents, guy. So when we look at segregation and integration, we was more better off in segregation because we was dealing with our own and had our own. That's just what it is. Integration took everything from us. And nobody integrated their dollars with us. We running around here spending money with everybody else in our communities, but nobody spending with us. And we barely got any businesses to back to spend with us today, like we had when we was segregated. These are things that we got to weigh, not our emotions, but the truth of the matter of what's going on, in order to deal on a better footing for our generations to come. Because we don't do it, we fail our children. We fail our grandbabies. That's the basis of this. It don't got nothing to do with us. We talking about the next generations and how it's going to be for them. And if we're not going to speak out and deal as their elders, as their parents, as their grandparents, and as their adults of this time, then when it comes time for them to come up, where their future going to be at, what they're going to have. These are things that we need to think about now. So yes, I'm all for segregation. I'm 100% with it all the way. I love myself, thus loving my people. Regardless of the ups and downs and the bickering and mishaps we have within ourselves, we can deal with that once we get back to ourselves. So with that, excuse me here, Jester, with that, let's come together. Let's unify and let's separate to deal with our own. Because if we don't, nobody else will. And with that, I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. But that is the question. You let me know. Praise, praise.